It's that time of the week. Yes, this week's Cult Movie Show, your weekly look at cult movies. Please welcome your hosts, Warren and Velvet.
Yes, thank you for listening in to podcast 24, I think that's right, of the Cult Movie Show with myself, Warren, and, of course, Velvet, who is, of course, with me in the virtual studio as always. How are you today, Velvet?
As always, I'm doing quite fantastic, and man, we have a really current roster of films that we're reviewing tonight. These are all from the 2010s.
Yes, very modern films this time. No black and white YouTubers this week.
Not this week, but we'll get you guys. We'll get you back in the flow of the cult film thing. But yeah, this is still this is going to be an interesting show. These are all films that have a lot to say and a lot to show, and they're going to elicit a lot of emotion and a lot of opinion, and I'm looking forward to getting into those opinions and talking about some of those emotions.
These are all cult films, or if they're not yet, they will be very soon.
Absolutely.
There's no doubt about that. And but the other thing too, I suppose, very quickly, we should just say that, of course, last week we did, of course, have a filler show, the B-roll, because I, unfortunately, if you had listened to, I think it was podcast 22, I think, you would have noticed that I really was rather under the weather, and it got so bad that last weekend...
It was not that bad. You made it through. You made it through that show, at least. You made it through that show.
but after that, we really did make the decision we would have to sort of run the B-roll, because I spoke to Velvet during the week, and I was a bit like... It was pretty bad.
Every other word was a cough, and it was kind of like, oh, okay, we'll do B-roll this week.
Yeah, I know. So, look, I'm still not fully recovered. I've still got this virus. I'm in the third week of this thing. But look, I am getting better. My voice is still a bit under the weather, I suppose, but I'm going to battle through.
Right on.
So, yes. So, our first movie that we want to look at this week. Now, this is... Look, I really do think this is a bit of a cult climber, if you like. And it is Seeking a Friend to the End of the World. And I really, really like this film. It's a... I suppose it's a dark comedy, a black comedy, but at the same time, very, very serious with, quite a lot to say. Basically, it stars Steve Carell, one of the reasons actually why I first wanted to see it, and Keira Knightley. And it tells the story of an insurance salesman, and we follow his life, I suppose, if you like, over the last 3 weeks of his life, after the world has been told that there is a comet about to smash into the Earth in 3 weeks' time, destroying all life as we know it. And it basically follows his adventure, if you like, over this 3-week period, before Armageddon actually happens. And it's a really interesting story. It's very funny. It's got a lot of very interesting things to say about how would society react to this news. And it's really good. I mean, what did you think, Velvet?
Yeah, I did like this movie, but oh my God, this movie kind of almost killed me. It was a lot more serious than I anticipated, because I agree with you. One of the reasons I wanted to watch it, and somehow I never even heard about this movie until recently, and I was like, I don't know how I missed this one. But one of the reasons I wanted to see this movie was because Steve Carell is in it, and I do like him as an actor. The weird thing is, though, this movie is a dark comedy in some aspects, but it's also very much a drama, as well as Steve Carell in it. I honestly expected him to be the comedic relief, and actually he's not funny in this movie. He plays this role very straight, and everybody else around him's kind of the comic relief, but he does a really good job in this. He shows really good range as an actor, because he's not just the 40-year-old virgin. He's not just the guy from The Office. He had, he can be a straight actor. He's proven that in other roles as well, but this is just another one to, add a notch on his belt. So really nice, solid performance. And I love Keira Knightley because first off, she's fucking beautiful. I've been in love with Keira Knightley ever since I saw her in Love Actually. And I was like, oh my God, who's that beautiful girl? And I know for other people it's Pirates of the Caribbean, but for me it's Love Actually. And I was like, these two are in this? I was like, I got to see this movie. But let me just say, if you're having a bad week, if you are fighting with friends or loved ones, if you're having any kind of relationship problems, platonic or romantic, if you're feeling depressed or bummed out, this is not the movie to watch that day or that week, because I spent about literally 50%, about half of this movie crying. So I was a little emotionally sensitive while I was watching this movie, and I probably cried on more parts than most people would. And this also has certain themes in the movie that, like you said, it's a dark comedy, but there's some of the kind of themes in this movie that, me personally, I don't like it when people joke about that stuff, but we'll get into that. So,
well, see, I actually came out with quite a different impression, to be truthful. Although I just had to quickly say it was Bend It Like Beckham was actually the first time I remember Keira Knightley. I actually came away from this. I thought it was a very uplifting movie. Because our two main characters, Steve Carell and Keira Knightley, they are, in a sense, pretty lost souls, like before the news of the end of the world comes. Steve Carell is in a clearly a totally loveless marriage. His wife is having an affair. Keira Knightley is in a string of different relationships. She can't really find happiness by any means. She's just jumping from one man to another. She doesn't know what she wants in life. And it's not until these two characters are, in a sense, sort of forced together to actually spend, what's left of time on Earth together, that they actually find happiness for the first time in their life. And so I find that very uplifting. Even if they only had 3 weeks to spend together, they got to spend that time together and to be happy. Because they could have spent the rest of their lives, in a very dreary, sort of unhappy way. But they got to find sort of true love and happiness, at the end of their life. And I think that's really uplifting.
Yeah, spoiler. No, I'm kidding. But just kidding. So yeah, evidently this does end up to be a love story. I wasn't sure if we were going to throw that out there, and I thought maybe we'd let people find that out on their own. But yeah, there's definitely a love story in there, and I did like that message that even amidst the end of the world, that you can still find love and still find that perfect person against all odds. But honestly, this movie, like I said, this is, if you're really philosophical, if you're really analytical, if you're in that phase right now where you're wondering what the meaning of life is, you might not want to watch this movie, at least not on that day. You got to watch this movie when you're in a good mood, when you're lighthearted, when you're not overthinking things. Because for me, just the very first few minutes of the movie, they don't waste any time. They let you know, here's what's going on. Asteroids hitting Earth. There's been failed attempts to send astronauts and ships out to basically blow up the asteroid, and those missions have failed. So yeah, this asteroid's coming. It's going to hit the Earth. The Earth's going to explode. So already within the first couple of minutes, I'm going, oh man, what would I do if I only had 3 weeks left on Earth? And then I was like, oh shit, how would this affect the world? Because I'm like, well shit, can I go to the store and buy food anymore? It's like, it's going to be anarchy. And I'm just like, it's crazy. But then there's going to be some people, it was a crowd of 50-50 in this movie. Half of the people went about their usual routine. They still went to work. They still did their usual thing. And then the other half of people just went fucking crazy. and that's where the movie does get kind of funny sometimes. At the same time, I found it kind of disturbing too.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. We see Steve Carell, for instance, he still goes to work at the start of the movie. He still goes to work every day as an insurance salesman, and he is still selling insurance, and there is people who are still buying insurance. Right,
exactly.
Even though the Earth only has 3 weeks left. And he goes into a team meeting at one stage, and, of a company that was probably full of hundreds of people. There's only about 10 of them left or something in the company. But the thing is, they're still working.
And at one point, they're even like, basically, you don't know what happened to the CFO, the chief financial officer of the company, but he has vacated his position. So you don't know if that means he's just taken off or if he's killed himself. And so they're just kind of like, this position's open. Who wants to be CFO? I mean, that's literally where they're at. They're like, you don't even need qualifications anymore. Who wants to do the fucking job?
Yeah, so and Charlie, you're in the mailroom. Do you want to be chief financial controller? It's because there's just nobody left. And it is interesting how a number of businesses and people who work don't stop. Like they keep going because that is their life. They can't just not stop. Sort of thing, and it's
and they haven't made plans. They haven't thought about living their life a different way in years. They haven't thought about pursuing dreams or unfulfilled goals or anything. And now they've been given basically this chance, and they don't even know where to start. So that you just go into your comfort routine. And that's this whole powerful message in the movie of pursuing your dreams and achieving your goals and, really living life like tomorrow could be your last day. And, that's what some of the people in this movie do. Some people just fucking get high and drink and have a lot of meaningless sex. I mean, you can do that too to pass the time. But I was just like, wow, what would I do? So I was really distracted in the beginning. One of the themes in this movie that did bother me a little, but it totally fits in. This was totally what would happen, was the suicide theme. I really don't like suicide themes in movies, even unless it's really done in a really, 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 really funny, outrageous way. But anytime it's just all of a sudden somebody's like, oh, there's no meaning to life, and they show this person committing suicide, that always really bothers me in a movie. And also, another part in the movie where even right at the beginning, people are putting up flyers like, hey, I'm looking for this, I'm looking for that, because it's my last chance to get it. And, they have people advertising assassin services. Like, they're like, hey, you don't want to wait for the end of the world? I'll kill you. But the weird thing, I'm like, okay, this guy is not only just offering to kill people, he's doing it as a paid service. So I'm kind of like, why do you care about money? Because it's like money's not important anymore because the world's going to be gone. Money's going to be gone. So I don't know. It was just the whole, I
don't know. I mean, I suppose the whole idea is, if you think about it, the news services stay on air until the last, 12 hours. Many of the businesses keep running. Many people still work. For instance, Steve Carell's cleaning lady refuses to stop coming to work every day. She keeps coming and all the rest of it. So, I suppose it's in that sense it's possible that, assassins would still keep working. But the idea of the assassin, it brings up some funny stuff, though, in the sense that, for instance, we've got quite a number of cameos in this movie. For instance, Nancy Carell, Steve Carell's wife in real life, actually plays his wife in the movie. And, but we've also got, for instance, we've got Martin Sheen, Adam Brody, Amy Schumer, William Peterson. And William Peterson is absolutely brilliant because that leads into what you were talking about with the assassin, because the character played by William Peterson, he actually hires a hitman and mistakenly believes that Steve Carell is the hitman. And it's actually really quite, I don't know, it's quite humorous actually, the way it's done.
It bothered me because it was a suicide theme, but that's me. Like, I always have a few topics in films that I'm a bit sensitive about, and that's just me as a person. Doesn't mean the film's off limits or it's a bad film. I do like the film, and like I said, for me, this movie made me cry so fucking much it was ridiculous. I was just like, I was like kind of mad at you for a minute, Warren. I'm like, why did you make me watch this fucking movie? Because then I was like crying for half of it, but No, but that's just because when I watch movies, I always like really put myself in there, and it's always almost a very emotional experience for me. That's why I love film, because it does elicit emotion, or at least good films elicit emotion and a reaction and a response. And it's not always the response you're looking for, because I honestly thought this was going to be more of a comedy, and there are comedic elements, but it's it's mostly a drama, and it's just, it tugs at your heartstrings. But no, I did enjoy this, and I'm glad I watched it. But this it's a movie I have to watch on a day when I know I'm not wearing makeup, when I know I'm not leaving the house, when I know I'm well hydrated, because I'm going to be crying a lot.
I suppose it's a little bit like what's that new movie that's come out recently? I think it's called WTF with I've forgotten her name now.
I'm sorry, I'm not sure what movie this is.
It's set in Afghanistan. She's a reporter. Oh, my goodness.
Is it World Thumb Wrestling Federation?
No, WTF as in...
Okay, because there's another one that came out.
No. And Tina Fey. And she's a reporter, female reporter sent to Afghanistan in the very early days of the Afghan war. And it's sold as well as a comedy, in as much the same way as this movie, Seeking a Friend, is sold as a comedy. But they're actually more... I think, as you were saying, they're actually drama, but with comic elements thrown in to try to lighten, the mood of what is a very serious topic. For instance, the scene when they stop off at a restaurant. They actually find a restaurant.
Oh my God! Okay. Frenzies. I don't know if that's a real restaurant. I'm not familiar with that chain. I think they made it up for this movie, but yeah, I definitely want to take my dog and grab a pint at Frenzies, because that was like the funnest restaurant on the planet. You get a blowjob with your mudslide. Okay, come on. I mean, come on, seriously. That's where you want to go to eat if it's like the world's end. I don't even think you probably had to pay for your food. I think you just had to let them do you.
Pretty much, yes, pretty much. But that was actually, that was actually sort of quite really fun. Funny. That was quite fun. That was very funny. I like that. And the entire staff was high on ecstasy, so they were all just in love with everybody and touching everybody. It was hilarious. That part I did like a lot. And that's the thing. It's like there is a scene where, for instance, Keira Knightley takes Steve Carell to meet up with Annette's boyfriend because they need a car, basically, to continue their journey. And he's Annette's soldier or Marine, something like that. Yeah,
ex-military something. He's definitely a survivalist.
And he's this survivalist, that's right. And they've built this bunker and they've got they've got weapons and stocked up on food and all the rest of it. And, and he invites her to stay, basically, she can stay and hopefully survive the apocalypse with them. But that's the beautiful thing about this movie. She says no, because she would rather, and I'm giving a little bit away, but I'm not trying to give too much away. But that idea that, for her, she would rather live that little bit she's got left in sheer happiness than live forever in just a whateverness.
I agree. Totally.
And that's what I think is so nice about it. But we should actually explain the reason why these two characters end up on this actual journey driving across the country.
Oh, yeah.
And it's because when the news sort of breaks about, the end of the world, for the first time ever, Keira and Steve actually sort of live in apartments, in an apartment block across from each other.
They live in the same building, and they've never spoken to each other.
But it turns out that Keira has been getting 3 years' worth of Steve Carell's mail, and she finally hands the mail over to him. So he decides that he's going to have a look through it, and he finds a letter there from his one true sort of love, I suppose, from his teenage years or his early 20s, something like that. And, saying that she wants to basically see him again. And so he gets really cross because, it's like, you held on to this letter. I could be there now. I could be with this woman of my dreams. How dare you? And but they still somehow build up this sort of connection or this bond. And when it's with the mad mob, if you like, are rioting and actually then start to... Steve Carell realises that, holy crap, they're probably going to burn the building down. and so he actually decides to save her. You know, because I'm not 100% sure why, but I'm thinking maybe it's because even though he doesn't really like her at this stage, she is the only person he knows in the world right now.
Right, yeah, and it's human instinct because it's even at one point, Steve Carell throws himself a pity party and he gets drunk and he passes out in a park and he wakes up and somebody has abandoned their pet dog, and he doesn't just abandon the dog too. He takes the dog, and this dog is a constant companion throughout the movie. So that's just human instinct that we want to help each other ultimately, and we want to connect with people, and we love dogs, and they're so innocent, and that dog's like my favorite character in the whole movie because he's so innocent, and he just tags along, and he even gets to go in the restaurant and they give him like a bread bowl of some kind of bread bowl full of soup, and I'm like, yay, doggy. But no, seriously, I really did like this movie. I did like this movie. It's just have a box of tissues ready, make sure you have a big glass of water to stay hydrated because you're going to cry a lot if you're sensitive during the film viewing process like I tend to be sometimes. But yeah, no, definitely worth checking out.
Oh, yeah, it's readily available on Netflix as well, just to let people know. So it's a nice, easy one to find. And, no, look, I really did like it. It's a bit like, as I said before, if you've seen WTF with Tina Fey and you liked that, then I think you'll definitely like this. I mean, look, with the title of Seeking a Friend to the End of the World and the fact that it's about the apocalypse, well, you pretty much know how it's going to end. So, I'm not going to say anymore, but you pretty much know. But what this movie is about is it's about the journey. It's not about the ending. It's about the journey. And it is a great sort of little almost mini road movie, mini love story. There's so many things all intertwined in here. And the performance of Steve Carell, too, I think was really good. He plays it. He plays it. He's so believable.
Exactly.
As a man who's just had it so hard all his life. Exactly. He was abandoned by his father as a child. He's found the most sensible job he could possibly find, even though it bores him to tears. He was in a loveless marriage. So he plays it beautifully. He really does.
He really does. And Keira Knightley's so likable, too. She's just so beautiful. And she, really comes across as a free spirit in this. And also, I love that she did, it was integral to the story that she keep her beautiful English accent for this movie. Yeah. And so I really like that, too. Just hearing her speak is very musical for my American ears. And, I did like this movie. I just was not expecting to cry as much as I did. I thought I was going to be laughing, and I was like, oh, I'm crying this entire fucking movie. Or not the entire thing, but a good half chunk of the movie I was personally crying. But that's me.
But I think there's also some happy tears sort of put in there as well.
Oh, yeah, totally. It was a mixture of sadness and happiness for me, definitely. I should also point that out. It wasn't, oh my God, I'm so miserable from this movie. It was a combination of happy and sad tears. So it was an emotional roller coaster, honestly, for me.
Because that's the thing. I mean, when they meet up with her survivalist ex-boyfriend, and he's there, and he's saying to Steve Carell, she's going to stay here with me. Like, he's not actually asking her; he's actually telling them that she's going to stay. And and one of the reasons is because she's good breeding stock.
I was getting ready to say that made me a little nervous. I'm like, oh shit, where's this movie going to go with that? And thankfully, they were able to get out of that situation. I'm like, oh, good. I didn't like it when he was like, well, when we repopulate the Earth, she's going to be top girl. And I'm like, oh my God.
God, I know. It's a bit rough. But then, you think that, oh God, we've got this pretty evil, nasty guy. I mean, for all we know now, he's going to try to kidnap her or something like that. But he's not like that at all. He is actually a decent man at heart. He loans them a car. He actually goes far out of his way, for where he needs to. He doesn't have to really do anything. But he actually, without him, their journey wouldn't have continued.
That's right.
But the interesting thing too, I think, is coming out of that, and we sort of see this survivalist mentality, and there's guns everywhere, and they're all dressed up in their camouflage. Why on earth you need camouflage for the end of the world? I don't know. But anyway. Well,
they had that whole militant personality, and they all had their positions, and they were like, these are electronics, these guys are, da-da-da, and you're like, oh God. Yeah, you're like, oh, I was like, you people need to get out of there ASAP.
Yeah. But the interesting thing is they drive down the road, and they haven't gone very far, and they see they almost run all these people over who are just like in this mass procession crossing the road. And they stop and they decide that they're going to follow them. And you start to watch this and you sort of think, oh my God, it's going to be a death cult. I just know it's going to be a death cult. You know, you're just going to look over the hill and you're just going to see masses of, bodies, Georgetown style,
Right.
Or Jonestown style, I should say.
Right.
But it's not. Just as they walk down and they see it's these people who are actually doing mass marriages. And, what do they call it?
Looks like baptizing. It looks like they were baptizing too. Yeah.
And, mass baptizing of people and all this sort of stuff. And you can see these young couples, you can see these families, and they're just like they're living their life like it's a Sunday afternoon. The sun is shining, and you've got all of this horror of these guns and weaponry and, we're going to fight for survival. And then you've got this beautiful scene of these people we're just going to make the most of what we've got. And
right, so exactly.
I think the thing I loved about this movie is it did not paint the human race as when you know the end's coming, everything is going to fall apart. It's like it actually showed the human race as in the sense that the vast majority of humans kept it together. Society doesn't fall apart.
It showed both sides. I mean, it did show both sides. It showed the people that were looting and going crazy and committing crimes, doing drugs and having sex, and just like there was all that going on too. But then you did have the other side of people that were just kind of like, I'm going to, maximize this. I'm going to live life like it's my last day because it pretty much is, and But I also like the whole pursuit of goals. Trying to contact people they hadn't spoken to in years, decades, forever. I like that aspect of it too.
And it's interesting too that we have a bit of a change of plot direction or twist, if you like, about about 2/3 of the way, I'd say, through the movie, where Steve Carell's desire for where he wants to be for what days he's got left changes totally from where the movie starts.
That was a nice twist. I did like that.
And the other thing too that I really, and I suppose this is a bit of a tearjerker, is that idea that in his last few days on Earth, what will Steve Carell do? Will he look after himself and find his own self-happiness? Or will he self-sacrifice his own happiness to give somebody else their dream? And
right. Oh, you're going to make me cry.
I'm
getting teary thinking about it. Yeah,
I'm not going to say any more, but that's where this movie takes you. And look, this is not one that normally when we review movies, we're laughing and we're joking and we're making fun of them, but it's very hard with this one. Even this is a cult movie. This is one that just draws people. But at the same time, you can't really make fun of it. It's just too serious,
Yeah, no. Mm-hmm.
It's a bit like, it was a bit like when we did One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I think anyway.
Now, like I said, I'm fighting back tears now because this movie had quite a few tearjerker moments for me, and I don't want to get teary on the air, so I think I'm going to go ahead and give it my rating before I start.
Okay, so that's cool. No, that's cool. So anyway, if Velvet, you are going to rate this, how would you go?
Okay, I'm going to give this 4 Erics out of a possible 5 Eric Roberts, simply because of some of the humor in this. I find I just don't care for certain types of humor in this. I don't like suicide themes, so that always knocks a movie down for me because that makes it harder for me to watch. But other than that, I definitely recommend it. If you like drama and you want to see Steve Carell in a good, solid drama performance where there is comedic elements, but he's not the comedian in this, definitely check it out. And also Keira Knightley's just flawless. She's so believable and likable. And definitely check it out.
Absolutely. Look, I totally agree with you. I'm going to give it 4.5. 4.5 Erics.
Right.
Because I absolutely loved it. And I can't find fault with this movie. there's a couple of technical little sort of that couldn't really happen in real life, but but that's the same with any movie. So
I didn't even think about that. I didn't even go there. I was just like, just let this movie do its thing.
Well, there's a little scene. I don't want to say too much, but there's a thing about flying a Cessna, just a single-seater Cessna, 172 or whatever, just that normal thing you see at private airports, right? I'm not 100% sure one of those... I don't believe one of those can cross the Atlantic.
Okay, well, let's leave it for the viewers to decide that.
But anyway.
I thought the same thing.
Yeah, I know. So I'm going to give it 4.5 Erics because I think it's really good, and it's a serious one. Yeah, it's a bit of a tearjerker, but not all cult movies are funny, stupid, and silly. Some of them are actually deadly serious with a really strong point. So it's and I think that's the reason why we started the show with this one, so then we could just get into a bit more fun after that. But
because it just gets funner and funner after this.
Yes, and but it really is good, and I definitely recommend everybody get onto Netflix, have a look, but probably get a box of tissues if you're going to watch it.
Yes. Don't wear makeup. Get a box of tissues.
Yes.
I was lucky. I wasn't wearing makeup when I watched. I was like, oh, thank God, because that's the worst when you spend an hour and a half doing your makeup and then it all just runs down your fucking face because you're crying.
Yes. It's something that us men know so well.
Yes, I know. With your drawn-on mustaches and beards, I know your tricks.
Yes. All right. Well, we'll just take a quick break, and we will be right back.
It's time to get excited, short film fans. It's mini movie review time.
Yes, it is. It's mini movie review time. And I have to admit, we didn't obviously have a mini movie review or short film review last week for obvious reasons, which we've gone through. But I wasn't 100% convinced about the one we did the week before, though I know Velvet loved it. But Velvet, you found us one this week, which I adored. Absolutely adored. This was fantastic. And it is called As in Kevin. And do you want to tell everyone a bit about it, Velvet?
Yeah, so that's what I love about Twitter is we're meeting so many cool people online, and there's so many creative and entertaining people. And at As in Kevin Movie actually tweeted us not too long ago, like, hey, here's our short film, check it out. And I did, and I was like, okay, this is going to be our next mini movie review because more people need to watch this. So it's written and produced by a USC student, that's the University of Southern California student, and this is the hashtag Women in Film. So it's a female director. You can watch this short on her YouTube channel as well as on the Instagram, which we'll plug all that at the end so you guys can check it out. But it's basically something a lot of us can relate to nowadays. This is a digital era, and a lot of dating takes place online. A lot of times we don't even know how to meet people in person anymore to date. We rely on online dating. And so it starts off with a character, Mackenzie, which is actually Summer Moore, who is also the director of this 10-minute comedic short. Oh, and here's what drew me in. This is not only a comedic short about online dating, it's also true as fuck. This is a true story. It's a true story. So, very quickly they introduce stuff. This has a very high production value for a short. There's a lot of little on-screen graphics, and there's a lot of humor packed into just 10 minutes. Overall, the acting is pretty mediocre, except for Summer, and we'll just say as in Kevin, who pops up later in the short. They both are very solid actors in this. The rest of the people are kind of what you expect from a lot of short films. They're kind of over the top. They're kind of not believable, but at the same time, they're comedy relief, so you don't expect them to be like super good. But overall, it's a universal message of don't forget to look right in front of you. Take your eyes off the screen every once in a while, and you might meet, the person of your dreams right next to you. It might not be the person that you're swiping left or right on a dating app on your smartphone. So what do you think, Warren?
Oh, I loved this because this whole idea that you had this, I suppose, the three main stars of the movie, and they lived their lives through this dating app. This was their social life, how they interacted with people. It was all about meeting up with people via this dating site. And I suppose that it could be taken further because, in a sense, it's not just about online dating. To me, it's also about social media in general.
Yes.
So, and that idea that, yes, we get so focused, on social media, and this idea now, how do people meet each other these days? Well, a lot of people, once they leave school or once they leave university and so forth, quite often online dating is the way that people actually, meet new people. And
right.
So, yeah, I found it fascinating. It was so it was an amazing statement. But the other thing, too, it was so funny.
It is funny.
The characters in the restaurant, for instance, we have the spiteful ex-girlfriend who's there stalking her ex-boyfriend while he's on a date. But she's actually on a date herself while she's stalking. And she's hilarious. She is absolutely hilarious. And, and we've got all these different groups of people. We've got one guy who simply is using it for sets. We've got another person who's wanting to find Mr. Right and get married and have children and, create a white picket fence, around a house. And we've got our main star who I think is just bored with the whole situation. She just wants to live a normal life and find a nice guy. She's not really after one thing or the other. And that's why I like that idea of where this movie will go in the end. Although, obviously, I don't want to say too much. But
yeah, no, you definitely want to watch the end. Definitely.
Yeah, I absolutely loved it. And I did love the idea, too, that, for instance, when she's talking to the valet in this movie, and he's on his phone, and he's swiping on his phone, and she's there like, oh, for God's sake, can't you give it a rest? Can't you get off your phone and stop trying to pick up women for 1 minute? And he goes, for God's sake, take it easy, lady. I'm just trying to buy flowers for my mum.
Yeah, I thought that was a really good one.
Yeah.
And because that's what a lot of times when people are on your phone, you always assume the worst. You're like, oh, they're just on Facebook or they're just doing social media. And we've all, at least unfortunately once in our lifetime, seen the asshole that is looking at porn in public, which, oh my God, that is just so uncomfortable, so awkward. And you're just like, so a lot of times when you see people staring at their phone, not paying attention to their environment, you don't assume it's a meaningful interaction going on, and I like that they, made a joke of that, but then they pointed out, hey, hold on, don't get cynical. It could be somebody ordering flowers for their mother. You never know.
It's very well done, and it plays so well into that idea that you can go into, let's say, a university cafeteria or let's say a work lunchroom, and you'll have 20 people sitting there, nobody talking, everybody just on their phone. This idea now of mobile computing and what it's given us with social media, internet dating and all these various different things. It's amazing how we're surrounded by, so often in our lives now, we're surrounded by real flesh and blood people, but we would prefer to speak to an unknown person on the other end of a mobile phone.
Exactly.
And I love it. I absolutely love it. And there's one more thing I want to say too, and that is that if anyone remembers the opening ceremony of the London Olympics when they did the ode to the creation of the internet, which of course everyone knows is actually a British invention, but I know the Americans and the British argue about this a little bit about who really invented it. Okay, the Americans say it's them, the British say it's them, but anyway, during the opening ceremony, of course, they did this big spectacular about the birth of the internet and then where it's become. And if you can remember, there was this young girl and young guy who were meant to be travelling on the tube train to go out on a date, and they're texting each other and they're on social media, and you could actually see what they were saying and what everybody else was saying around them. It was all done by CGI. And I thought that was so clever and so well done. But the beauty in this movie, they do the same thing. So where you see people, you actually see what they're doing online. So you don't just see them scrolling on their phone. You actually see what they're doing on their phone.
Oh, it's hilarious.
And that's why it's so well done. It's so well done.
One of my favorite lines in this is when she's, talking about when you look at dating profiles and it's something ridiculous. You see somebody with a bloody fish and a blurry picture. And she says, you realize that person is putting their best foot forward. That is like the best. Yeah. That's what they're offering. And I'm just like, oh my God, that's so true. That's fucking terrible. Like people aren't even trying.
I know. It's like, can I just say to you, Velvet, are you into alien sex?
Oh my God, gross, yuck.
Oh, it's a great
well,
line.
You know what, I shouldn't say that, you shouldn't knock it till you try it,
Well, yes. No, I'm not trying to pick Velvet up. It's a great little line from the movie, guys. Okay, don't worry. It's a great little line from the movie. Do you like alien sex? And but because of course that plays with that whole idea too, that even an avatar that we see online, it quite often will be the real person, but it was the real person 10 years ago.
Yeah,
it's not because we see that in this, where we see the avatar of the guy, and then we see what the guy really looks like, and it's the same person, but the photo wasn't taken last week.
It was like 10 years ago when he was in shape and before he became a horn dog nut bag.
Yes. So it is really good. It's a really clever little fun film. I have to say it's fun, it's funny, but geez, it makes a really, really good point about modern day society at the same time.
Yeah, it definitely captures the whole zeitgeist of the current social media dating phenomenon. I wanted to make a correction. I made a mistake. Summer Moore, who stars in this as Mackenzie, as the main, protagonist, she helped to write this. She did not direct it. The director is Foster V. Corder. Sorry about that. So I just wanted to throw that correction out there. Okay. So if you guys want to check out As in Kevin, so, just like as, when somebody's saying their name and, As in Kevin, you can check them out on Twitter. Go to @AsInKevinMovie. You can also watch it right there. It's a pinned tweet. You can watch it right on their Twitter page, or you can go to YouTube and watch it on YouTube. If you do that, make sure you like it and subscribe to their channel, and tell them that Cult Movie Show sent you.
Most definitely. So, all right, we will take a quick break, and we will be back with movie number 2.
Oops, are you there?
And we are back with movie number 2, and this is a good one. I've been waiting for this for quite a while, I have to admit, and it is Shin Godzilla, or Godzilla Resurgence, from this year, 2016. This is the brand new Japanese Godzilla release, and I have been so excited to actually see this, and I have to admit, I was not disappointed. But what did you think, Velvet? I know there was so much hype, about this movie.
Let me say, I started off watching this thinking, like, well, first off, I was excited. Then I started watching it, and I was like, oh my God, this is going to be bad, isn't it? But then it ended, and I'm like, no, I like it, but this was a weird Godzilla movie, wasn't it?
Well, I suppose we should explain to people the whole idea of this. Now, Shin Godzilla is, the best way to describe this is it's a bit like when in the James Bond franchise they came out with Casino Royale, okay? Or in the Star Trek franchise where they came out with the movie Star Trek, the first of 3 movies only a few years ago. Now, what this is meant to be is a start of the franchise.
Yeah, okay, we call it a reboot.
Reboot. So what you have to think about this is working from this movie on now, none of the other movies existed. The same as with James Bond. None of the James Bond movies before Casino Royale actually happened.
Right.
So this is the way that you have to think about it. So in a sense, it's actually a reboot of the very original Godzilla from the 1950s. And so it is very much following that story of the original Godzilla when Godzilla very first appears. You know, what is this thing? How was it created? How can we stop it? And, of course, lots of, death and destruction as it stomps all over Tokyo. And but it's a very modern take. And it will be interesting to see whether this actually is just going to be a one-off or whether it will actually reboot the entire franchise of Godzilla. Mm-hmm. And so the thing to remember, if you're expecting monster battles, in other words, if you're expecting Godzilla to take on Rodan and all that sort of stuff, it's not going to happen in this movie. It's very much like the original black and white. So so that's just a sort of a rough sort of rundown on the movie.
Right.
I suppose just to get a little bit further into depth, with this one, it starts off where there is trouble basically brewing in Tokyo Bay, and then suddenly this weird sea creature emerges from Tokyo Bay and starts basically slithering, sort of through Tokyo. It's still on fins and all this sort of stuff. And as it gets about halfway through Tokyo, it will eventually start to, I don't know, metamorphosize. Is that the right word? I'm not too sure.
Oh, it was. What was the word they used? It evolved. It evolved.
Very quickly, in about 30 seconds it evolves, into Godzilla, and it is still very much a Godzilla as we remember Godzilla in Japan, not an Americanized sort of version. He's still very much got the big long tail. He's still got the big, almost, really beefy hocks, those huge chicken thighs. He's still got the very short snout, that almost sort of dog-like nose, which is quite different to all the American interpretations of him. But he is still quite a lot meaner and quite a lot nastier than the Godzillas that we've had in the past. Wouldn't you say so, Velvet?
Oh man, this was okay. I have to talk about the way he looked. I have to get it out of the way. I can't even wait. I have to talk about the way he looked. So when he first, he's kind of peeking around and they don't really know what it is yet. So at first they're like, is it a whale? Is it, they're like, what is it? And then they're like, oh, it's some kind of unknown creature. And, so finally, he slithers, literally, as you said, Warren, he slithers into Tokyo. And when they very first show his face, I literally said, what the fuck is that? And I honestly thought, oh, this is going to be the monster that Godzilla fights later for territory. But then later I was like, oh my God, that's Godzilla. Okay, come on. What was up with the googly eyes? That looked like, it literally looked like a monster with mental retardation. I'm not trying to be funny. I was literally like, what are they doing? That looks so goofy. And then, it started, as you said, it started evolving. All of a sudden, within 5 minutes, he all of a sudden evolves into Godzilla. But he had chicken wing arms, and I'm like, what are you guys doing? Why does Godzilla look so funny? But finally, towards the end of the movie, he does look very scary, and it's a very interesting modernized version of Godzilla. I don't want to give away too much, but I do have to say I thought the radioactive breath was really cool because they actually gave him two forms of breath. They gave him traditional fire breath, and it morphed into radioactive fire breath. And I was like, wow, that's actually pretty fucking dangerous. That's pretty cool. Yes. So, but yeah, hang in there, people, because this movie honestly almost lost me when they first showed Godzilla as I guess some kind of he needed to evolve into Godzilla, and yeah, stick around for the evolution because it eventually pays off. But at first I was like, what are they doing? Googly eyes and chicken wing arms? Come on, guys, it's Godzilla.
No, I mean, I thought the same thing as you. I actually thought when we see the very first monster appear out of Tokyo Bay, that was going to be the monster that Godzilla would take on, because I had actually gone into this movie with zero research.
Same here.
I
Same
knew
here.
that there was a new
Same
Godzilla, but I purposely had not read anything about it. I had not gone
Same
to
here.
blogs about it or anything like that. And I didn't realise that it was a reboot.
I didn't know either.
And but in a sense, though, I think that maybe this is good, because just like Star Trek, just like James Bond, can you keep doing the same thing? You know, I mean, Godzilla has been going since the 50s, pretty much non-stop. And, do you reach a point where you just have to say, no, we just need to reboot the franchise. We just can't keep doing the same thing over and over again. And so I do like that. The other thing, too, is that the monster in this is quite different to all previous Godzillas. It's not now a man in a suit, but it's not CGI either. What they actually decided to do with this is they were going to do motion capture. And so it's a mixture of puppetry for a lot of the close-in stuff, and, for instance, with, tails swinging through buildings and that sort of stuff. That's all puppetry and models. But when we actually see the full Godzilla, this time it is still played by an actor, the same way as it always has been before, but instead of being a guy in a suit, it's actually motion capture. So they've actually modernised it a bit. They haven't just gone to CGI. They've still kept puppetry. But so I think they actually came up with quite a nice little sort of combination, because I don't think I would have wanted them to go totally CGI. I think it would have spoilt the fun of Godzilla if they had have.
Yeah, no, definitely, because it had me wondering, too, because I also didn't do any homework, and I was kind of going, well, that's not a guy in a suit, is it? But then I was like, but that's not CGI either, so it did definitely have a different effect from what the traditional Godzilla films do, but it's really well done. I do like it, but I got to say another thing, his tail had a life of its own. It was, like, humongously disproportionate, wasn't it? Like, that tail was humongous. At one point, I was literally like, okay, his tail is, like, as big and as long and as tall as he is, like.
I know. It was one.
Like,
I'll put it this way: he was one well-hung monster. Is one way I will put it. Yeah, but from behind. I know, from behind.
And he was like the slowest walking Godzilla I have ever seen. I didn't quite understand why he was so fucking slow. It was kind of weird. It was just like. Yeah, put some pep in his step. Somebody give this monster an energy drink. Yeah, he was a really slow-moving Godzilla.
but the other thing, too, is that this movie really does go back to the heart and soul of the original movie, in the sense that dealing with... everyone, I think, always forgets that Japan is the only country on Earth which has gone through a nuclear war. No other country on Earth has experienced what it's like. And I think that's the thing that, for Godzilla, and this movie really taps back into this, so well. Because for everybody else, nuclear war is just an horrific thing that we could imagine. It's not something that our grandparents actually lived through. And that's why I think the idea of radiation and all the rest of it is such a big deal. And this movie definitely plays a lot, with the ideas of, like, for instance, the tsunami, of 2011 in Japan. It plays a lot, where they had the, the terrible, the nuclear meltdown and so forth. And the problems that can be occurred, because this all plays back to that original idea that Godzilla is created because humans are illegally, or not illegally, but against everything that we should know better, are dumping radioactive material into the world's oceans.
Exactly.
And, and nuclear, if we're going to use nuclear in our world, we have got to have, stricter safeguards on it than what we do these days. Absolutely. And it plays with it. And it's also fascinating watching this too, in how the Japanese government reacts to what's going on, because it's not quick. It's not fast. It's not like, oh, just send the army out, blah, 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 blah. There's all this political infighting about what they can do, what they can't do. They even play with these ideas about can they even call a national emergency because it's in breach of the Constitution, and they have to recall Parliament in order to, to pass these laws. And we've never seen that sort of shit in a Godzilla movie before. We've never seen politics in a Godzilla movie.
Exactly, yeah. I was really surprised by the politics in this film because a lot of people tend to forget and don't realize that, Japan is not engaged in any kind of warfare since World War II. So, I mean, like, if something like this were to happen, and this movie does take place, obviously, in fictional present time, they would be ill-equipped to deal with it. Because even though they do have, their military in place, I mean, they don't really have any plans for fighting Godzilla all of a fucking sudden.
Yes.
So, I mean, it was really crazy, too. I was surprised how much they touched on the whole, Hiroshima, Nagasaki, H-bombings, and that they, even in the movie, they get to the point where they have to reach out to the United States, and they're basically saying, okay, you know what, we kind of need to borrow your nukes so you can kill this monster for us. And I was like, wow, they're really doing that in this movie? That's intense.
Well,
wow.
It's a bit, although it does change because, I mean, they do obviously reach out to the Americans, but the problem is that the American response to Japan is not what Japan wants. And Japan is placed in a position where the Americans are going to drop an atomic bomb on Tokyo, which is, they don't want that because they can't even evacuate the population in time.
Right. So, millions of people.
Yeah, and this is going to be 1945 all over again. And now I'm not trying to pass judgment on whether dropping the atomic bomb was right or wrong. That's not something for me to pass judgment on. I'm just talking about the idea of this movie and about how modern-day Japanese would feel about the idea of a foreign power forcing, this sort of situation on them. And what is really interesting about this movie is that Japan, and this is about all the politics which is in this film, which is just amazing. Japan sends out feelers to countries like France and Germany and China to try to put pressure on the Americans to slow down their timetable because they think that they've got a solution to actually stop Godzilla. And but of course the Americans don't believe that the solution's going to work, so they're on a timetable to drop the atomic bomb. But of course the Japanese call in favours from the rest of the world, to try to slow them down. So it's absolutely fascinating, I think. It is. Maybe I'm overstating this fact a little bit too much, but you will not have seen a Godzilla movie like this before.
No, this was totally different from what I was used to. I agree. Because like I said, so hang in there, people, if you watch this movie, because you're going to go in expecting a Godzilla film that you're traditionally used to seeing. And it's a lot. It's a totally different formula. There's a lot of politics, but not to the point that it's boring. There's a lot of humor in this movie, but I think for me, I think it's a lot of Japanese cultural humor. So I think I probably honestly missed a lot of the jokes. I think it was they may have been lost in translation since we did watch a version that is in Japanese with English subtitles. And I don't know about you, Warren, but my Japanese isn't too good. So I think I missed some of the jokes that may have not carried over into the subtitles. But what did you think of the Japanese-American character? They have a female Japanese-American character who kept switching between actually speaking English and speaking Japanese. I found that really annoying. What did you think?
Well, she's meant to be a CIA liaison working with the Japanese government. So she's meant to have been sent there from the American embassy to basically sort of say what the Americans are going to do, what they can do, and so forth. And she, in the end, she sort of sides against America and starts to side with Japan. So, in a sense that, she doesn't betray America or anything like that.
No, not at all.
So I don't want to let our American friends think that, that's what's going on. She just doesn't want to drop an atomic bomb on a city. That's really all it comes down to.
That's understandable.
Yeah.
That's understandable.
I I don't know, because it's almost like, do we almost get a love interest with her starting to develop, with one of the Japanese ministers? But it sort of starts to develop, and then it sort of doesn't. It's kind of weird,
Right.
Because I was honestly expecting a love story between the two of them, and it didn't really come out of it,
Yeah, I'm glad they didn't do that, because that's so generic and it's so played out, and you don't have to shoe in a love story in every fucking movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm glad they kind of like gave a little bit of romantic overtone there and then just kind of dropped it. So I was like, good, because I want to see Godzilla, and I want to hear more about these interesting politics. I don't really care about those two sucking face.
Yes. Yes. But even though we talk about, how much politics there is in this movie, there is still, trust us everybody, there is still lots of aeroplanes flying around. There are still tanks shooting left, right and centre. There's artillery flying into Godzilla.
Oh my God, that scene where Godzilla's tail hits a fucking train and the train goes flying. That was, not cool, but it was cool.
It's
like the absolute devastation and the way they portrayed that was really cool. I was like, wow, this is really well done. Just destroying the city, and he's not trying to destroy the city. He's just a big motherfucker, and everything's in his way.
Oh, that's exactly right. It goes back to that original idea, which they would carry on, obviously, in all the other Godzilla movies, where Godzilla's not evil. Godzilla is us. Godzilla is just an incarnation of what we have created. He's like our. Godzilla is just a statement of evil humanity and what we've created and what it comes back to reap destruction on ourselves.
Right.
The problem is, of course, with so many of the latter Godzilla movies, especially through the 70s and then into the 80s and so forth, in the 60s, is that they would just become fun monster movies. They would lose all of that sort of,
political overtone.
Concept of the environment and, all this sort of stuff, which is what the original story is about. And they would lose it. It would become more about aliens and God only knows what, So I love the way that this movie has gone back to the, the base roots of what it is. And it must be said that the Japanese clearly think the same thing, because this movie, this is in US dollars, cost $15 billion to create, okay? That's a lot of money, okay?
Wow.
It's made, sorry, I said billion, didn't I? Million.
I thought you said million, but if you said billion, goddamn, that's the most expensive movie.
Sorry. Million, guys. Sorry, million. There. Okay.
But it's totally worth that much.
Okay.
Totally worth.
But in Japan alone, right? And the movie's only been out for 6 months. Remember? Okay.
Right.
It alone has returned $78 million in Japan alone.
Holy fuck!
Now,
wow.
In the USA, it's created $1.9 million.
Woo!
So this, obviously, the audience
and that's
have
just
like
in 1
this.
month. And that's just 1 month in the U.S.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's only been out since November in the U.S. So
That's
wow,
right.
fucking.
And
that's
it's,
pretty. Yeah,
and
wow.
it's not going to be available on Blu-ray and DVD until I think February 2017. So if you weren't lucky enough to see it in the cinemas, you're going to have to wait, until then. But but trust me, wait until I think it's February when it comes out on Blu-ray. And if you're a Godzilla fan and you haven't seen it yet, I really do suggest you get it, because it is a wonderful reboot of the franchise. It really is.
Yeah, I do like what they actually did with Godzilla. Like, I was, like I said, the whole evolution thing, the instantly evolving, phase was kind of dubious. I wasn't into that. But once he fully evolved and what he became, and like the fucking lasers and the fire, and I was like, the radioactivity, I was like, whoa, this is insane. And I couldn't help, but this part did make me laugh, though, when they're trying, like, they finally got some, military in place, and they're like, okay, we're going to try shooting this monster. Let's see what we can do. And they're just, like, shooting Homeboy in the face. They shot him in the face so many times, and, like, he just, didn't phase him, which is typical for Godzilla. But for some reason, the way they did it just looked funny. You constantly see all these explosions on his face for, like, 5 minutes. Like, okay, gunfire. Okay, bombs. Okay, torpedoes. And I'm just thinking, he must be thinking, this is like a facial. He's like getting a facial right now, just like sloughing off, sloughing off some of the dead skin on the surface. He's going to feel all nice and rejuvenated when they're done and be like, oh, that felt good, but it literally just made me laugh for a moment. It looked so funny. And I was like, you know what? They are shooting this guy or, shooting Godzilla in the face for like 5 minutes. He's very patient, to be putting up with that bullshit.
Oh, yes. But
took him a while to react to that.
But some of the battle scenes, as I said before, if that's one of the things that you love about Godzilla movies, is all the fighting, where the Air Force and the Army, or basically where the Japanese self-defense forces always has to take him on, you won't be disappointed in this. We've got hundreds of tanks, we've got hundreds of artillery pieces, we've got hundreds of aeroplanes. We've got soldiers running around left, right, and centre. You won't be disappointed. You've got all of that, in this. So, and the other thing too is that although, it's not something that I recognised. I think you'd have to be Japanese to recognise it. But this movie is filled with cameos. Absolutely filled with cameos.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, unfortunately, those were lost on me, too. I'm not well-versed enough to recognize the cameos either, unfortunately. Yeah. But yeah, from what I've heard, there's a lot of cameos in this, too.
Yeah, just packed. I'm talking like about 50 of them. There is so many, whether it be people from Japanese TV, from other movies, with these tiny small parts, or with people who have been in Godzilla movies before. So, there is a huge sort of homage to all of that. But unfortunately, if you're not Japanese, you're not going to, pick that up, which is a bit of a shame. But but for the Japanese audience, that was just an extra sort of like, woohoo! That really was good. So this movie was taken very, very seriously. And I must admit, I'm so glad they made it. I really did like it. And if this is the reboot, like as in with Star Trek and as in with, James Bond, where the story starts over again and we're going to get more and more movies, I'm really glad because, as I said before earlier, they couldn't just keep doing the same thing over and over again. There were only so many times that aliens could try to take over the world, send a space monster, and Godzilla would try to save the Earth. It was getting a bit ridiculous. It had lost all connection back to what stories, were really meant to be about, which is about, sort of environmentalism, about protecting the planet, about the dangers of, of using radioactivity, and also the horrors of what a nuclear war, really can bring. So, I'm glad they've got back to the grassroots of it. I really am.
Yeah, definitely. But, now that they've done the reboot, it's only a matter of time. They got to bring back Minya, son of Godzilla. I want to see that radioactive donut. Come on, radioactive donuts. Come on.
I think what will be really interesting, actually, is if this is going to go down where I hope it's going to go down, is what are all the new monsters going to look like? What is Rodan going to look like? What is Mothra going to look like?
Oh, yeah. That sounds...
Will Minya simply look like, a Play-Doh sort of toy, or will they make him look a little bit meaner, So it's I think it's going to be fascinating. If Mothra comes back, will they continue on with things like the Mothra fairies? Will they have the supernatural element to it, that Mothra carries? So it's going to be really interesting to see what they do. I must admit, I think it's a good time to be alive, Velvet.
Yeah, I agree. Especially, I like what they've done with the technology. Like I said, it started off looking kind of goofy, but yeah, this is probably one of the fiercest, scariest looking Godzillas I've seen, honestly.
Oh, yeah. I mean, although I have to admit, the latest American one is probably the nastiest, as in the monsters being sort of looking nasty is what I mean.
He's actually the fattest. I mean, they beefed him up. That American diet,
What, too many donuts?
But they actually did make him. He was supposed to represent like a lizard and a bear, so they really did like beef him up for the American version, which was kind of funny. And a lot of people, when the movie very first came out, that was all over the media. Everybody was like, Godzilla's gained weight. He's in America now, so he's eating all that fast food and all, eating all the American people eating fast food. So, but yeah, that really was a running joke over here for a while that Godzilla gained weight in the United States.
Well, it'll be really interesting to see whether those
if he loses weight in the next movie.
I know it's those radioactive donuts are going to do it to you. You know, I mean, yes, they put him on a fitness plan. You know, sort of like he go. I don't know. Maybe he'll go down to radioactive bagels or something instead. What will be interesting is if both the United States and the Japanese run Godzilla franchises simultaneously.
Oh wow!
Now that would be really interesting.
Oh, because then, can we please have U.S. Godzilla versus Tokyo Godzilla? That would be so cool. Can we do that, please?
Well, we have sort of seen that before. There was a Godzilla movie. I think it was the third or fourth last before Shin Godzilla,
right?
Where it was just a giant sort of, attack of all monsters, if you like. And they made reference to, they bring back the American Godzilla from the Matthew Broderick movie.
I remember that, yes.
And they actually say that, they actually state in the movie, and I've forgotten what they call the American Godzilla, but they give it a different name. And they actually say that the Americans misidentified the monster. So
exactly.
Which is really amazing. I found it amazing that the Japanese sort of said, well, we can't get rid of this American film. They've made this really shit film, but what we're going to do is embrace it and make fun of it. So
it's hilarious.
They wrote
but that's not Godzilla. Yeah, it's like,
so they wrote it into their own stories and then created a monster that looked identical to actually be in their films. And then they sent it back to New York to trash New York. I thought that was absolutely, hilarious. I had to tip my hat to Japan for doing that. But,
I think that was a show of good sportsmanship.
I thought so. It was a little bit like sort of saying, sorry about that.
It was a friendly jab. I thought it was funny.
Yeah, it was done in good humour, I thought.
Totally.
But then again, the latest American version, I think we both agree on this. Look, I always have a problem with American Godzilla, but I think we both agree that latest movie out of America is still quite good.
Oh, it's so good. Love it. And I've already said, and I'll go on record for like the millionth time, my favorite Godzilla kill of all time is in that most recent Americanized version of Godzilla.
Yes.
All I got to say is radioactive fire. I got to say.
Yeah.
But but I would love to see this version, our current American version, fight this new, Shin Godzilla. I would love to see that in the future and see. I mean, because this Shin Godzilla is pretty fucking fierce. I actually have to admit, I don't think the American one's going to stand up to him.
I don't think so either. It's but the other thing too is that, I mean, how could you do it? You can't have two Godzillas.
Oh, I know.
I mean,
well, parallel universe. They'll figure it out. Aliens, all that shit. Black holes.
We got two Alien versus Predator movies, didn't we? So I mean,
right. So I mean, give them like 10 years, and like 10 years into the storyline in the franchises, they can totally do this. I was just checking out. I'm checking out ours. It sucks that the American Godzilla is supposed to be, the sequel is supposed to be called Godzilla King of Monsters. So far, it still has a tentative release date of 2019. I'm like, God damn.
Gracious.
Yeah, we still got some years. Yeah, so evidently they're putting a lot of fucking special effects into this, it sounds like. So, but it's supposed to have Mothra in it, and I believe it's supposed to have King Ghidorah in it. So
I'm just not 100% convinced about this. I mean, I know I have to be so politically correct here, don't I? Because
no, you know what? You can say it this way: you're a film purist, and that's okay. Because I agree, this is a Japanese franchise, and it does not need to be Americanized whatsoever. But at the same time, me as an American, I love our fucking CGI special effects. Now everything's over the fucking top, so that's why I'm excited about it. Just because I want to see what they do with these characters with our current technology and special effects, because they are going to CGI the fuck out of it, and to me, that's just going to be like fucking like artwork. It's going to be just fun to watch for that aspect. But no, from a purist level and story level, definitely this is Japan's franchise. They do it best. They know it best. But you know what? I love variety. Variety is the spice of life.
That's exactly right. And in 2019, if there is a Godzilla 2, out of the United States, I'm still going to watch it.
Yeah.
I'm still going to watch it. Yeah. So
we'll review it. And we'll tell you whether it's good or whether it's shit.
Yeah. Look, I think as long as they follow the same sort of format they did in the last one, then I think America will be safe with the next Godzilla, because the last format worked pretty well. They did it pretty well. As long as they don't go back to that piece of piling shit that they did first,
that was so bad. That was so bad. I don't know what they were thinking.
That was just bad. Horrific. That was shocking. That was shocking. So anyway, I say to everybody, check out Shin Godzilla. It is really good. It really, really, really is good. So, all right, let's rate it.
Okay, so I'm going to give this 4 out of 5 possible Eric Roberts. So 4 Erics out of 5 possible Eric Roberts, simply because when you first see Godzilla, you're like, oh my God, what is that? That's not Godzilla. Seriously, guys, googly eyes and chicken arms. And also, I'm sorry, that character that keeps going back and forth between speaking Japanese and English, I find that so fucking annoying. Pick a language and stick to it. You're in a room full of people who are speaking Japanese. Why would you start speaking English all of a sudden? I don't like that. I think it's annoying. And so, but yeah, other than that, definitely check it out.
Well, no, I'm going to go a similar sort of path. I have to admit, I wasn't quite so bothered about the American character, because I sort of thought, if they're an American character, there's probably a good chance they're going to speak English at some stage. So that really didn't bother me. It's a little bit like, I remember I was a huge fan of the French TV show as a child called The Aeronauts. I don't know if anybody remembers it. And it was about these two French pilots who were spies. They worked for the Secret Service, and they used to get up to all these sort of different missions and this sort of thing. And they remade the movie about 10 years ago in France, or remade the TV series into a movie. And I remember when they did that, it's all in French. But when they're dealing with the terrorists who were Australian, wasn't that cool? The French made the terrorists Australian, yeah. They were all speaking English. So I sort of figure, no, it's okay. I think it's all right, because it's if you're going to have foreigners in a movie, one of the things I hate is, like, if you watch so many movies out of Hollywood, all the Germans speak English, all the Japanese speak English, all the French speak English, even some lost tribe from the Central Highlands of Africa speak English, so it's sort of nice when you do get to speak your own language, I think. So, no, I'd have to disagree a little bit, but I do totally understand what you're saying, how it can be a bit annoying.
Well, the way her character was overall, just like she came off as kind of like what we call a valley girl, somebody who uses a lot of slang, and they have really up-turns in the way they speak. And it just was annoying to me.
Maybe she was that surfer chick from California.
That's what she sounded like.
Well, she could have been. You never know.
On the weekends when she's not at the office, she's surfing. It's cool.
She may pop up in the new Baywatch movie. I tell you what, I'm looking forward to that. I am so looking forward to that. Oh goodness! Here we go. Yeah, that looks. I've seen the trailers for that. It looks fantastic. That looks fantastic. I'm hoping there's going to be a 21 Jump Street that works. Because when they remade 21 Jump Street, it just didn't quite work. But I've got a feeling that this is obviously made in the same style. So I've got a feeling this one looks a lot funnier. This one looks like it's going to be pretty funny, actually.
And I'm sure there's a cameo from David Hasselhoff. He's got to be in it.
There's got to be. If there isn't, I'd be disappointed. Yeah.
Right, totally. In fact,
I'm hoping there's going to be cameos from pretty much all of them, to be honest.
Oh, that would be cool. Yeah, totally. Exactly. We want to see everybody. Yeah, that'd be cool.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. I grew up on that show. I grew up on that. And I will defend it till the end. I don't care if people sort of say exploitive TV and stuff like that.
Oh, it's a cult classic TV show.
I know, it's just fun. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with watching people with beautiful bodies getting into outrageous adventures. So what? It's TV. It's meant to be fun. It's fantasy.
Exactly.
You know,
exactly.
It's all good. Anyway, back to Shin Godzilla. Sorry. Okay, I am going to give it 4.5 Erics.
Right on.
I might give it 5 Rodans.
Aha, nice. Oh.
Yeah, sort of. Ching.
But definitely no spoons. Definitely no spoons in sight.
No spoons.
In sight.
No, in all seriousness, if it's if I was going to rate it on the Godzilla scale, I will give it, like 5 Rodans. But I think as a general movie, in total, then I'll say 4.5 Erics, because there are a couple of things. Even though I disagree with you slightly about the American stuff in it and so forth, I still totally understand what you're saying, and I totally do agree with you that I think it will annoy a number of people. So I totally get that. I also think for some people, they might get a little bit bored with some of the politics and science. It does drag on quite a lot, and if you're not into understanding how Godzilla works internally, you might get a little bit bored, because you're going to learn a lot about his internal system, how he works inside. So, 4.5.
Right on.
Perfect. All right, we will take a quick break, and we will then be right back with our final movie, number 3. And I'll tell you what, this is going to be a good one. You're going to like this one. We'll be right back just after this. I think we'll be right back just after this, if I push the right button. Here we go. And we are back with our third movie, and oh god, this one, after we spoke about a really serious film to start off with, then we had the fun of Godzilla, but it wasn't as fun as the ones from the 70s, it was the new revamp, it was a bit more serious, had politics, science, all that stuff in it. But we're going to finish off with a movie which was absolutely fucking hilarious. I laughed so much through this movie. And it is called Bad People. And it is brand new. That's right, isn't it, Velvet?
It just came out last month. Yeah, it just came out last month in November. It's an independent film directed by Alex Petrovich, and it's called Bad People.
And it is so funny. What it basically is, it's... Look, if you, I know that when we had Alana Evans on, we talked about Kentucky Fried Movie. There's also a movie from the 1980s, I think, called Amazon Women on the Moon. There is, if anyone remembers, The Meaning of Life from Monty Python. This movie is basically very similar to them. It's a group of individual little stories or skits but following down sort of a pattern. It's got a direction to it, but they're all independent stories, except for one little linking story that keeps linking it all the way through, and that is the news reports that we keep getting. And it's absolutely hilarious. It's just looking at modern day people and just how bad and lunatic and ridiculous they can get in just quite normal situations. And it's absolutely hilarious. I laughed my ass off. What about you, Velvet?
I thought you would like this movie. The whole time I'm watching this, I'm like, Warren's going to like this. Warren's going to like this. Warren's going to like this. And I liked it too. This movie is politically incorrect and funny as hell. And I was just like, yeah, I tried not to do any homework on this because Alex Petrovich, who sent us the screener for his awesome movie, was really generous with behind the scenes footage and trailers. And sorry, Alex, I didn't watch any of them because I didn't want to spoil the movie for myself, but I'm going to definitely go back and watch them now that I can watch them unspoiled. But this I knew I was going to like this the moment I realized this is a vignette comedy sketch film. I love movies like that. I love, anthology horror films that are a collection of stories. And I love these kind of movies that are just a collection of, little funny stories. These ones, like I said, are very on the politically incorrect. They do have, bad language and violence, but so it's not going to be everybody's cup of tea. But if you like something a little bit more on the raunchy side, you will enjoy this, definitely.
Oh, look, some of these stories are they're absolutely hilarious. We start off with two hitmen who get a job to assassinate or to murder somebody. And but the whole entire story isn't really about the killing of the person. It's about what is and what isn't politically correct speech these days in 2016. And we have the three of them, the two hitmen and their victim, in these arguments about what words you can use, what words you can't use, and in what context can you use them. Like, do you use the word Jew or do you use the word Jewish to describe somebody? Do you say, black or do you say African American? It is absolutely hilarious. It is.
I literally laughed out loud on a couple of some of the things they said because it was just like, oh my God. I was like, are they really having this conversation while they're getting ready to kill this guy? But then the guy they're getting ready to, murder, he's getting in on the conversation too.
I know. He joins in and he starts correcting one of the hitmen in the way he uses his speech. And it's so funny. It is so good. And even when you think, right, okay, they've sorted that out, now they're going to take this guy off and they're actually going to kill him, it starts up again. With, it's brilliant. It is just so funny. And the three of them work together so well.
Yeah, good chemistry. Yeah, actually, all the acting in this movie is actually pretty solid because a lot of times in sketch movies like this, it's kind of hit and miss, and especially with comedy, again, the acting can be kind of hit and miss. And everybody actually in this has really good acting skills. It's very well cast, and everybody's believable. It's actually believable, which is a lot of times comedy, it's hard to really sell it and be believable. It's just sometimes it just comes across as one person acting crazy or just saying dumb shit. But in this, everybody's character is actually believable. They're good actors. So I like the casting in this.
And also the writing. The writing is brilliant. I mean, it is really well written, this movie, because, of course, actors can only do so much, based on the scripts that they're given. But the writing in this is just superb. And they're able to capture the different types of people that they look at throughout society. And we look at quite a few different, different types of people in modern day society. And, sorry about my voice. It is croaking a bit, but, it's written so well. But it's like, for instance, we get to our second story, which is a couple wanting to adopt a child. Now, this is actually probably the spookiest of them all. It's funny, but it's a bit close to the bone. This is a bit sort of scary in a sense. And
so this is Anna and Dave Smith, and they are preparing for an adoption interview.
It is. I mean, I'll tell you what. This couple, although they turn into, shall we just say, psychos in the end. I mean, they're, but as it starts and as we start to see them, I think everyone has friends like this who every minute of their life is remodeled based on who they're talking to or what they're doing. They dress differently from minute to minute based on who they're with, what they're doing, how they speak is different. Their politics changes from minute to minute depending on who they're around. And this captured it so well. Yes.
This also reminds me of how crazy people get when they really want something. Like a really common scenario for this is bridezillas, as we say, that women that are beautiful, they're in love, a man proposes to them, but the moment they start planning that wedding and they want everything perfect, they turn into this crazy raving bitch. And this is the case with Anna and Dave Smith in this skit, is that they want to adopt a child so bad and they will do anything to have a child, but they become these horrible people in the process just because they want to get it perfect and make it happen.
it turns into this weird, almost imprisonment movie. You know, it's it's absolutely hilarious. And although they're trying so hard to try to read this woman from the adoption agency, but every time they try to read her, they read her wrong. Like they never read her right.
They put their foot in their mouth every single time.
I know.
Just like, they just cannot get it right. Like, oh, well, here, would you like some meat? No, I'm vegan. Oh, that's fine. Yeah, I know.
I love the idea where they sort of ask her, "Oh, where are you from?" And she, what does she say? It's not Atlanta. It's
Maine, or I forget. She says a city. She just says some random city in the United States that a lot of people are from. And they're like, "No, where are you from?" And then she's finally like, "Oh, my father's from this country, my mother's from this country." And then they're like, "Oh," and then they like all of a sudden they're like, "Oh, okay, well this means that she's Jewish and she's black and like they have all these preconceived notions based on that."
They think that she's half black and half Jewish, so they bring her out a plate of watermelon and smoked fish on bagels with sour cream.
Oh my god, I did not even see that. I totally missed. I didn't even see that.
When she says,
totally missed that. Oh my god.
because they think that her mother is black and her father is Israeli. So so one of the things they bring out is watermelon. I mean, it's just,
oh my god, that's so fucking racist. Yeah,
I know.
This movie is politically incorrect. And it's funny as hell. So I didn't even see that.
Yeah, and but then we've then got another story, which is I'm not even. I don't know if I was going to almost call this man versus woman, but I'll just call this a date that should never have happened.
I called it online dating.
Online dating. we have a woman who is sort of like like the California surfer chick. And,
totally.
And
she likes to smoke pot, drink beer, surf, she's laid back.
Laid back, gets around in just a bikini top and a pair of cut-off jeans. She's not worried about life. She just wants to have fun, get drunk, And but then she ends up on an online date with this guy who is a clean freak, a neat freak, a member of the Republican Party, and so they couldn't be. They're just 100% opposites, but they have the best sex ever. Like when they meet up, and so they become relationship. They become boyfriend and girlfriend. But of course, they're at such polar opposites, and where it goes, some of the stuff they start doing to each other. And, and then it just gets out of control where he appears with a chainsaw. And it's just,
my God.
It is fantastic.
Oh my God. The part that killed me was, okay, they've been dating like 6 months. Now the sex is not like, as bombastic as it once was. So it's become kind of like the, kind of the relationship boring sex if you let it get to that point. And she's kind of like, hey, let's do something different. And, let's speed it up a little. And he goes, I will ejaculate too fast. When he fucking said that, I died. I'm like, oh my God.
It's just so funny. And, you see him, he's there in, like the Ralph Lauren sort of polo top and the chinos and, the perfectly, combed hair, with the part down one side and she's just there with her, hasn't washed her hair for 3 days, just hanging around in a bikini and a jeans, and stuff like that. And it's just, it's so great to just watch them, and they just keep baiting each other all the way through until they start destroying the house around each other. And,
oh my God!
Oh, I loved it. Just I just absolutely loved it. But the thing is that it tells that story, doesn't it? How many people get together? You see friends get together in relationships, and other people meet them, and they say, "Why are those people together? Yeah, they're so different,
Yeah.
And we see it all the time, and and because their whole relationship was based around good sex, but of course after 6 months, the sex is now no good anymore. So there's nothing left in their relationship. And I think you can't lie. Everyone has either experienced this or has seen this in friends before.
Totally. Absolutely. Exactly. Absolutely. Oh my God. But yeah, that was funny. The next one is actually my favorite one.
Oh, yes.
The next one's actually my favorite one. This one, I called it Affirmations. And it's basically you got a city. Well, I'll let you do the summary. You do the summary so well, but I'll tell you why I like it once you do the summary.
Well, this is where we have this young actress, and she. But when I say actress, I will say that she's only ever been in one movie, which was 9 years ago. But
it was a sequel. And
yes, it was a sequel, and clearly, I think a B grade movie too was what it was meant to be, and. Because it was called End of the World, wasn't it? Or End
of the World Part 2, I think.
Yes, right. But that's the whole joke, wasn't it? How do you have End of the World Part 2?
Part 2.
I know. Which I thought was just so well thought out. But anyway, she sees herself as this amazing actress, even though clearly nobody wants to hire her. No one is interested in her. And she puts out an advert for a roommate or a housemate. And she gets this girl from, is it meant to be Georgia? It's from the southern states.
I forgot what state it was, but yeah, she's definitely from the South.
She's
definitely from the South.
And she is just, there's nothing stuck up about this woman at all. You know, she's quite happy to eat potted meat out of a tin. You know, if she has her nachos, she puts on extra cheese. She doesn't care about stuff. You know, she just says it the way she sees it, you know, and she's so different because the woman who our actress, you know, takes life so seriously, you know, everything has to be embraced. She has to embody the role and study the role. Where this woman wants to be an actress as well, but she just turns up. And of course the problem is because she's so down to earth, things go very wrong for our main star, our main actress, because they're both trying to get a part in a movie, and it doesn't go the way that our main actress thinks it's going to do. And it is funny. Yeah, it is great.
Oh, it's hilarious. Okay, so I called this one actually, I called it Affirmations, but before that I was like, wasn't sure what to call it, and then I was like, no, this is actually City Girl, Country Girl. And I love the girl that I'm calling the Country Girl because I'm originally from Texas, and the way she talks, that sounds like so many of my family members from Texas. And even her whole attitude, the way she talks, the way she asks questions, the way she's just kind of like doesn't really know much about the world. Because the town I'm originally from, when I was growing up there, only had 30,000 people. So people weren't very worldly. Some people spent their entire lives in that town. And just the way she's just like, well, what's that? Well, I want to get some tryouts. And the woman's like, auditions. She goes, huh?
Oh, that's
like,
right.
Audition.
They're called auditions.
She's like,
yeah.
Oh, she's like, well, you just know everything, don't you? You know, just like, and I was just like, oh my God, this sounds so much like so many of my family members from Texas. So I just loved her right away. I was like, I love this character because she was just so authentic and genuine. And eventually that's why things go so well for her, because she comes to a city that is based around people being fake and putting on an act and, you know, trying to show this image of glamour. And she's just, you know, I'm from the South and I came out here to be an actress, but I don't have any experience, you know, but I'm really lucky. So I just thought I'd come out here and try my luck.
I know, I loved it. But the thing is that, you know, I mean, it's like all of these stories. I think all of us can relate to these stories. Maybe, I mean, the hitman stuff and, you know, all right, okay, we don't necessarily relate to killing people.
Well, maybe not that.
But we relate to the...
But what they're talking about.
The talking. That's right. We relate to the argument that's going on. And the thing is that, you know, like, yeah, we see this all the time, you know, like if you're, you know, we see people who are brought up in cities, especially what the cities that are seen as the cool cities, you know, like the Parises, the New Yorks, the Los Angeleses, you know, of the world. And then suddenly these country people, these rural people turn up. And they're so different because they're down to earth. They haven't been brought up with all the hype of the fakeness and, you know, that you sort of need to try to survive in these big modern sort of ultra hip cool cities. but then suddenly you can come in with just this honesty, and you can be so successful because you are so honest.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. But yeah, that's my favorite one. It just, I was laughing the entire time. I was like, oh, this is so good.
Yeah, it was really, really good. And then we then get our last little story in it, which, I don't know, what would you call it? Revengeful girlfriends or cheating boyfriend?
I called it triple timer.
Triple timer. It's where we have this guy who is a player, is the best way to put it, where he's dating and having sex with numerous different women at the same time, and basically two of the women find out about it, and so they decide that they are going to seek revenge, and it's I don't know what to say about this little one. This one,
I don't want to spoil this one either. This one had a darker overtone than the other ones, but it's still really entertaining to watch because you're kind of like, you don't really know how serious to take this story until certain things happen. Then you're like, oh shit, they are going to do that. Oh, they did do that, and then you're kind of like, wow, I wonder how this is going to end. And so this is almost like a black noir comedy skit for a second. You know what I mean? It's like except for it's in color and it's in modern day.
And you never quite know what's going on because it's like, who is actually the bad? Like, is there actually a good person in this one? You know, it's like they're all bad in this one. There's
except for the pizza guy. That's the only good one.
Yeah.
He got that pizza there in less than 5 minutes. He's like, less than 5 minutes or it's free. And I'm like, well, I want to order from that service.
I know, 5 minutes or it's free. Goodness gracious.
I know, right?
Yeah, I know. But it's still a good little fun story, you know, I have to admit. It's maybe not quite as funny as the other ones, but it's definitely like, you just look at it, you just sort of go, oh my God, I know what's going to happen next. Oh, is it? Yeah, it's going to happen, you know.
It's also kind of the case of, be careful if you're going to be a cheating asshole because you never know how crazy some people will get.
Yes.
If they find out they're being cheated on. So,
and also, if you're going to create an alliance with someone who you would have seen as your enemy, just forget that alliance is not forever.
Temporary alliances,
Temporary
definitely.
Alliances. What happens when the alliance ends? That's all I'll say. No, it was a good little story, actually, I thought. It was a good little story. And now the other thing, too, is that all throughout this, we have a news report, which sort of ties it all together. And the on-running story through this whole thing is basically about the mayor of the city. So it's not just a mythical city, obviously. And the mayor of the city who has been caught having an affair with a prostitute. And but the thing is, and as the story keeps progressing, it keeps getting worse and worse and worse. Oh
God, yes it does. Oh my God!
And it's just hilarious to see how the mayor tries to justify his actions every time, and it just gets crazier and crazier and crazier. But also, what's interesting too is that the prostitute is trying to build a career from this.
But this happens nowadays. Yeah. Anytime, prostitutes or porn stars or any kind of sex workers end up having a paid relationship, basically a paid interaction with a celebrity or a politician, a lot of times they are able to get interviews and paid interviews, and sometimes they get photo shoots in magazines. I mean, sometimes they do actually capitalize off of it.
I love one of the bits in this where the very first interview they have with the prostitute. And they get her on there and they sort of say, now, well, tell us what happened and so forth. And she said, oh, well, if you want to find that out, you've got to go to my Twitter site. My Twitter address is this, and I'll link you there to the blog, and you can read it there on the blog. She says, no, you're here now on television. Can you tell us what? She said, yeah, I'm here now on television to tell you where to go to find out.
Smart girl.
And I thought that was,
She bricks. Look, she knew how to play that game, but it cracked me up when she said she was writing a memoir. I'm like, oh my God, she doesn't even know how to talk. She does not know how to talk, know how to write. So it shows that she's not too bright. The newscasters cracked me up, especially the male newscaster. He kept getting high before he would do his newscast, and it got progressively worse because first he's like, "Oh, I'm just smoking a little pot." Then he's like, "Oh, I'm just doing a little coke." Oh, now I'm just straight shooting up. Oh my god!
You know what it reminded of me? You know, was Ezra Bridges, was his name, from Airport or Airplane, Flying High. Airplane. What was his name again? Bridges? Oh, I've forgotten his name.
Oh, sorry, I've forgotten too.
Yeah, but it's, you know, this is the wrong day to stop, stop drinking. Oh, this is the wrong day to stop smoking, And in the end, he's there, so, this is the wrong day to stop, to give up heroin. This is the wrong day to stop sniffing glue. And it's like that. He just gets worse and worse and worse. And in his very final scene, it's just hilarious. You see him like basically shooting up on screen. It's just absolutely hilarious. And then I love too the way that the prostitute gets her own TV show in the end.
Oh my god, yeah, that was hilarious. It was just like, and she's like, problems with the economy, just buy stuff.
Yes, I know.
Oh my god.
And so, but what was one of the ones where it's like the Middle East, and she's just sitting there rolling her eyes, and there's just silence.
She's like, I don't know,
yeah. But it's meant. But what I love about it though is that her new TV show isn't meant to be about her. It's meant to be about politics. That's the thing that I loved about it, right? So it's like meant to be a political talk show. It's just
and she knows nothing. She knows nothing about politics.
But the thing is, I do wonder whether that had a lot to do, because if you remember a number of years ago, remember Mary Carey in California?
Oh yeah.
Remember she ran for governor, and and then she started up her own political talk show. I think it's still going, actually. I think you can still listen to it. And she actually has this political talk show where they don't talk about, what she's more better known for, I suppose. They actually talk about politics. So I sort of thought, when I saw this, I sort of thought, it's not that crazy. It's happened before.
Right. Yeah. So this movie has a lot to say on, social commentary too. I wanted to say really quick, the mayor that's been accused of, having this illicit affair with a prostitute, and he tries to justify it. He's doing a former President Bill Clinton impersonation the entire time, and he does it quite well. And like instantly you're just like, Bill, you old horn dog.
Yep.
It's like,
you can see it. So it's clearly it's meant to be Bill Clinton. First of all, he denies it. Then he has to come out and and sort of accept it. Oh, it is so Bill Clinton, most definitely. Mm-hmm. And it is funny too, the way that he flatly denies it at first. Then he gets caught on video, so then he has to accept it. But then he changes the whole direction of it, but then something else happens and he has to change it again. But in the end, even through all of this, even though he's caught on camera, doing cocaine? No, crack. That's right. He's doing crack. He's caught on video having sex with a prostitute and all the rest of it, but he gets reelected.
And he gets reelected. What does that sound like?
Oh, I know, doesn't it? I mean, that is the thing. There's so much stuff in this which is so relevant to today. It's like we've got politicians. The worse they behave, the more popular they become. We've got, so just as in with Bill Clinton and the way he used to carry on, and nobody really cared. We have, the way that Donald Trump carried on with all these offensive, appalling comments. Nobody cared. He got elected.
I know, it's baffling. It is baffling.
And then we have all these different looks at individuals within society, whether it be, the young couple, whether it be, the couple who were totally mismatched but still fall in love. The continual endless argument about political correctness in language. So this is a total statement on the modern Western world. And it is done in such a funny way that you don't realise you're actually watching political satire, but you don't realise you're watching political satire because it's so funny.
Right, exactly. And also shouts out to the female newscaster, because she had to pretty much play her role straight.
Oh, I know.
And amidst all this humor, and I think she did a really good job of keeping a straight face and being a good anchor to all the shenanigans that were going on around her. And also, I liked how they had the little, the little commercial for 1-800-BE YOURSELF for $19.99.
Oh,
you can learn to be yourself.
Yes, the infomercial. That was great.
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, this was a fun little independent film. I'm definitely glad that we got the chance to check it out and review it for you guys, so we can tell you to go check it out.
Oh, absolutely. Look, this was so much fun. I totally recommend this. I really, really do. So, if we're going to rate this one, where do you reckon we're going to go, Velvet?
Okay, I'm going to give this one 3.5 Erics out of a possible 5 Eric Roberts, simply because, first off, it is politically incorrect. It's funny as hell, but it's not going to appeal to everybody's sense of humor. There will be some people that just can't sit through this kind of humor because they just don't have a tolerance for anything politically incorrect, and that's their loss, but I'm got to put that out there because this is not a movie everybody's going to be able to watch. And I'm also marking it down because there is rape humor, and that's always kind of iffy too. So you may be laughing at the time, and then later, is it the kind of joke you'd want to tell any of your friends or your mother? Probably not. So, like I said, it's not for everybody, but if you do like raunchy humor and you like politically incorrect and you have tolerance for rape jokes, then this is definitely something that you will enjoy.
Well, I'm going to actually go a bit higher. I'm going to go 4 Erics out of 5 because I actually think that the politically incorrect humour in it is in itself a statement at, like, yes, this movie is politically incorrect, but it's having fun at the world. It's saying, you know, it's like the world has just gone to hell in a handbasket at the moment with the way we carry on, with the fact that we're electing some of the most hideous politicians in history. You know, we can say this, we can't say this, we're not allowed to be ourselves. And I just think that it's a wonderful statement on the world of 2016, and that's why it has to be politically incorrect to work. So I'll give it 4 Erics. I loved it.
Okay, but either way, it's still got passing grades from both of us, I could say. So yeah, definitely check it out. So please support this. This is an independent film. It is called Bad People. Follow them on Twitter at Bad People Movie. Tell them Cult Movie Show sent you. And then head on over to their website, which is badpeoplethemovie.com, badpeoplethemovie.com. There you can choose your favorite format to view the film. You can go through iTunes, Amazon, and Google Play. So yeah, support independent film. And thank you guys so much for hooking us up with, thank you so much, Alex Petrovich, for hooking us up with a screener so we could review your awesome film.
Oh, look, I loved it. I can't, I really loved it. I was
laughing. I was laughing the entire time too. Yeah, I was laughing.
I mean, we don't often have a movie on where, you know, like we often sort of say, I love this movie. It's like for instance, when we talked about, you know, Sheena. Okay, everybody in the world who knows me knows my obsession with the Sheena stories, and whether it be the TV series, the comic books, not comic books, you know, the books, the the movie. I'm just obsessed with everything Sheena. But at the same time, I don't really expect people to go out and watch it because I know it's my obsession. You know, it's not somebody else. But in this case, I will say to people, seriously, if you can handle that bit of politically incorrectness, but remember it's satire, okay? So remember that. Yeah, it's politically incorrect, but it's satire. Seriously, I really recommend people go and watch this. I really do. Because this is one I really want to say to people, go and watch. I really liked it because I really think this movie, even though it's so funny, it's just got, look, I'm repeating myself from what I said before, but it's got such a strong message about, you know, what we're doing to this world at the moment, and I really like that. You know, it's so, I really loved it. I really say to people, the best way to fight back when things are going wrong sometimes is to poke fun at it. And this is what I loved about this.
Right on.
Yeah, wow.
No, definitely.
I got all serious there, sorry.
No, that was good. Good. No, like I said, it's a raunchy film, but it is. It's great satire, and it's definitely worth checking out. But like I said, I like to give people warnings. You know, that's the female. Yeah. That's the nurturing female in me. I like to warn people that this isn't really the kind of movie I want to sit down and watch with, say, my mom. But this is the kind of movie I'd sit down and watch with some of my friends, because some friends wouldn't be able to handle it, because some friends would be offended. So, and that's a good sign of cinema, though. That's a good sign of actual artistic cinema with a meaning. It's not if it doesn't appeal to everybody, if it does elicit a response and have a message, which surprisingly, this very, very, very funny movie actually does.
Yes, most definitely. Well, I reckon we had some good movies this week, I thought. Yeah. We'll have to, because I'm trying to think now, next week, that's actually going to be our Christmas show, I think, next week, won't it?
Yes. Oh, my God. Okay, yeah. I actually forgot for a second. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, so we'll probably go down a different path, don't you think, Velvet, for the Christmas
special?
We've
got one worked out, but I'm not sure what the others are going to be yet, so we'll have to figure that out.
I think there'll definitely be a bit of a sort of Christmassy theme, though, I think.
Totally.
We'll definitely say that anyway, but we haven't yet, as you said, Velvet, haven't fully decided just yet. So if you've got any Christmassy suggestions, send them in quick. Definitely send them in quick. I think that's sort of a wrap. That's the show, because my voice has not got much left in it. But hey, I survived. By the Christmas show, I should be fine. I cannot believe this bug has hung around this long. 3 weeks. It's just unbelievable. But anyway, so survived. So that's cool. So I'm going to let you do all the outros, Velvet, if that is all right.
Okay, right on. So go ahead and follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Cult Movie Show. So we're pretty active on Twitter, so you can tweet us any movies that you'd like us to review. If you're independent film, feel free to email us or tweet us and let us know. We'd love to review your film. Also, we do the mini movie review, so anybody that has a short film and you'd like us to help spread the word, go ahead and tweet us or email us. And you get all the contact info on our Twitter page at Cult Movie Show. You can follow me, OMG, it's Velvet, on Twitter, but please be 18 years or older, since I do post adult content. If you like toy trains, you can follow my co-host or model trains, Martini Super Dry on Twitter as well. And thank you to Alana Evans for supplying us with the music. Shout out again to Bad People Movie on Twitter. We know this movie's going to hit cult status in no time. So when people talk about Airplane or The Naked Gun or a Kentucky Fried Movie, they'll also say, hey, have you seen Bad People? Yeah. It's that good.
It's that
good. Good.
Have we given out the email address?
And you can always email us at cultmovieshow@gmail.com.
And the other thing to remember is that as well as Facebook and Instagram, as well as Twitter and Instagram, we are also on Facebook, if you would prefer that medium, which is simply the Cult Movie Show on Facebook, so you can go there. You also can listen to the show on YouTube as well as
that's right.
iTunes. So if you go to YouTube, it is simply just The Cult Movie Show, and you can go there, and if you would prefer to use the YouTube platform rather than the iTunes platform to listen, you can go there. I think that's it, isn't it?
I think that's it. So we'll talk to all you movie freaks next week when we're celebrating Christmas, and we're talking about all of our our Christmas cult film favorites.
It will be a good one. I will be bringing in a stuffed reindeer. Well, no, I won't really.
Nice.
But I think I'll probably have the glass of port or the glass of sherry, maybe some ginger snap biscuits, something along those lines.
I think I'll have a glass of eggnog with a shot of whiskey.
That sounds good. See, I'm Australian. We don't really do eggnog. We just pour gallons of red wine down our gullets, pretty much.
Hey, red's a Christmas color.
That's true. That is very true. But I suppose it's a bit. Well, though, actually, Velvet, is eggnog as popular in the south of the United States as it is in the north?
Oh yeah,
It's just everywhere, is it?
It's in everywhere. It's in all the restaurants. It's all in all the grocery stores. It's everywhere. Yeah, I love it.
Okay.
I love it.
So remember, of course, to put your carrot sticks or your ginger snaps or your chocolate cookies and a glass of milk or a glass of brandy or a glass of whiskey, whatever it is that you put out for Santa, because remember, Santa is real and he does come. So,
but we might have to actually talk a little bit about Krampus next week too.
Oh, yes.
We'll see if Krampus makes an appearance during the show too.
Absolutely. So, yes, just make sure that the Santa that does visit is the nice, jolly one and not the one that busts in through the window with a chainsaw, because that could actually spoil anyone's Christmas.
Forever.
Yes. Most definitely. I don't even know where I'm going with this. This is just ridiculous. All right. Okay. Thanks for listening. Jesus, I don't know. Still, the medication's kicking back in. All right. So it is. So that was podcast 24. And do I see my voice just went up there? See. So thanks for listening. I'll shut up now. And so it's a goodbye from me.
Yeah, goodbye from me, and we'll see you guys next week.
Cheers. Speak to you soon.